Hello, party people, world famous Gen Z rock star Connor Farrell here. Going to tell you today if Franz Ferdinand Genius explains if Franz Ferdinand are in fact slop or not. Now we're going to look at what is slop, how to detect slop with our slop detector, how much of Franz Ferdinand's catalog is slop, are Franz Ferdinand even talented, and then finally what I'm going to say and what most people are probably going to say is the answer to is Franz Ferdinand slop and or not. Now let's look for where Connor left his marker to explain how to look at the music matrix, which is going to show us if something is slop or not. If we're talking about a particular song, we look at the energy first. We look at where does it end out of 0 to 11. I'm going to say most stuff Franz Ferdinand is probably going to be around here, 7 to 3 anyways. And then this stuff, we look at the catchiness down here from 0 to 10. We move over, if it's punk, let's say, let's take a band like Green Day, they're punk. And then we move over. As the songs get catchy, those songs then get to be described. Those songs then get to be described as punk rock or rock and punk, right? And so this is the slop line. Most consumers, when they hear a song that's less than 7 catchy, they're going to call it slop. When it's greater than a 7 catchy and it's high energy, the high energy line, they're going to call it rock. Less than 5 energy, they're going to call it pop. Now that we know how to catalog a specific song, energy is easy to figure out. You look at people. Do they get energy? Can they run to it? If they're doing cardio and jogging, they're probably going to be in this zone for terms of energy, right? When they're lifting heavy weights or doing something very fast and they need insane power, insane energy in an instant, very intense, they're going to probably be in the metal range listening to music. If they can't get to that zone of energy and intensity that they need from the song and they can't use it, it's probably lower than, whatever the activity is calling for. So that's an easy way to measure that, or if people are moshing or not, right? And then catchiness, this is the thing that's kind of hard. So how do we detect slop? Well, now we know that slop means low catchiness. That is the definition of slop. How do we detect when low catchiness, and low can be kind of subjective, but in general, there is a pretty clear general idea of low catchiness. Low catchiness, the biggest factor in determining slop or not catchiness tends to be something called predictability, how predictable it is. If something's completely incoherent, you can't follow along with the song at all, it's slop. If something's completely formulaic and corny, it's super predictable and god-awful to listen to, it is also slop. Now, if something is in the money zone, which is in between being balanced and a little bit zany, think Back in Black by AC/DC and or Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, then it is pretty balanced in terms of the predictability. Some things are predictable, some things aren't. Little stuff isn't enough to keep it interesting, but not enough to turn into complete incoherent slop. Now, that doesn't mean you won't be slop. You can have stuff that's balanced, it still ends up being slop. Look at Faith No More. Now, you can also have stuff that's good for fans. It's more of a deep cut, more of a B-side stuff as well that's in that zone. You can have some stuff that is now hit quality zone, stuff that's clearly not slop, right? And then smash hits, of course, can occur. Now that we know how to figure out and detect slop, we know what slop is, and we know how to detect it. Now we're going to look at how much of Franz Ferdinand is slop. How much of their catalog is slop? Do they have a high percent of slop, a low percent of slop? Do they have a chronic slopulation? No. So here we go. I'm going to look at a couple examples of distributions of bands' catalogs. This is, in fact, a ratio of how much slop to mid-quality for fans, maybe, and then hit-quality songs. This does not mean that a song actually took off and became a hit. If you take Hey Jude by the Beatles, Hey Jude, that would have been a hit. That is a hit-quality song. Even if a smaller band released it, people would still say that song is quality of a hit song, even though it may have not become a hit song. It had the potential to. The quality was there. So now if we look at this, here's someone like Frank Zappa, Motorhead, or Slayer, where there's not many hits or things to get in people, and there's not a lot of totally unlistable slop. There's a lot of stuff that's, if you like the artist, you like the vibe, you like the brand, you like their musicianship, there's plenty of stuff for you. Now, another example, very different from that, is Weezer, or what I think Queen, where they've got a lot of really good hit songs, or they have complete garbage slop. There's not much in the middle. Either it's really good or it's really bad. Now, you've got stuff like Led Zeppelin, Nine Inch Nails, where they have an even 1/3 is slop, 1/3 is good for fans, 1/3 is great for everyone, right? You've got some people with one-hit wonders. Then you've got people like David Bowie, who, though they have a lot of hits, they have way more garbage. And then you look at classic catalogs. This would be like the Beatles, Metallica, pretty much no slop, mostly B-sides and hits. And shocker, that's where I'm going to put Franz Ferdinand. I'm going to say Franz Ferdinand. If you go first album, to me, it's mostly hit quality and B-side, mostly hit. So that's going to be a 1 for hit. And then second record also goes there. Third record, maybe a little more 50-50, just because the songs are a little more long-winded sometimes, a little less focused on the first 2 records, a little lower energy for me. And then the fourth record, Sweet Love, Illumination, Sweet Love, Adaptation, but Evil Eye, it's completely all here. There's no duds. Then Always and Always and Always Ascending stays really here in this more B-side range, but still more hits. And then maybe a little bit with the new record, there's a little bit of an even spread. But I'm going to put them in the classic catalog. Now that we know what slop is, how to detect slop, and how much slop there is in Franz Ferdinand, which it's not a lot, we now get to see something very interesting, which is how universally or not are they viewed as being good, bad, etc. This is going to change depending on what you care for as a listener. Do you care that the musicians are virtuosos, so to speak? Do you care that the musicians are trying to fix the thing with my feet as we're doing the video? Oh my gosh, and heck, look at that. All right, do I need to move this side up? Sweet love, illumination, sweet, sweet love. Oh my God, what's turning? They can fly now? That's crazy. That's crazy. Stop doing that! Ah! Anyways, big man with a gun. I don't have a gun on me, so to speak, metaphorically, in Minecraft. Now, brand, if you just care about brand, you're going to say, how's Franz Ferdinand's brand? Their historical and present impact. Present impact isn't huge, though I love them. Aesthetic is pretty great. Stage design, logos, merch. I'm going to give them a green in the aesthetic, maybe a green-yellow. When it comes to the virtuosity, I'm going to put them at maybe, they have a solid vibe. They have good level skill, but I'd honestly put it more of a yellow. Like, if you just care about, like, shredding guitar parts and, like, the world's catchiest bass lines, this is not your first place to go to if you just want that. They do things more in service of the song, and that tends to be a little more toned down. So this is less of the spotlight. So this would, get some yellows going along in there. Nothing wrong with what they did, but just like in general, you're not going like, oh my God, this is like an example of the most pushed to the extreme extent of how good can you make all the individual instruments while keeping the songs good. No, songwriting 10 out of 10, live show, maybe gets a yellow. No, they're pretty great when I saw them. Riffs, tones, solos maybe gets a yellow, but in general, this is a green, maybe a yellow-green. I'm giving Franz Ferdinand, if you're just looking at any one of the given things, I'm saying they probably get about a yellow-green. And what that means is most people are going to say, yeah, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. They're good or pretty good at pretty much everything, right? They're not just fine. Green would be fine. So I'm giving a check mark on all 3 of those. Oh my God, we lost a thing. So now I've got written down, but this pretty much means that everyone's going to agree on it. So now that we know what is slop, how to detect slop, we know how much of Franz Ferdinand is slop, and we know if Franz Ferdinand appeals to people who care about brand versus musicianship versus songwriting. We know they appeal to everyone. Now we're going to look at what are they, right? Because we know how to look at a single song, and we know the distribution of quality across their entire catalog. Now what we want to look at is what most people actually are going to say. Most people actually think, what are the top 10 songs? They imagine, well, they don't actually consciously do it. They tend to think about what are the top 10 songs from that artist, from that band. Those are the ones that I'm thinking about right now. And I go, oh, they sound like this. Oh, that's what the band sounds like, right? When people say, is a band good? Does a band rock? Is a band punk? Does a band make slop, right? They don't think about every single song and average it. And they also don't just think about one good song. They think about what they remember. And that tends to be their top 10 songs from that band. So I'm going to go with my top 10 are Take Me Out and No, 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 You Never Know. Oh, no, you girls never know. No, no, girls never know. How you make a boy feel, you girls never know. And This Fire is out of control, gonna burn this city. And well, do you wanna go? Whoever never let you before, and find me and follow me through corridor, through factory, with files you must follow this academic factory, and find me in the matinee, the dark of the matinee. It is better in the matinee, the dark of the matinee. It is fine, it is mine, and then sweet love, illumination, sweet, sweet love, expectation. Evil eye on me, doom, 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 doom. I'm cheating on you, yeah. Goodbye, girl, I'm on the only love, yeah. And then the following doom, 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 and this butt, this pay, I go. Anyways, but spoiler alert, talents, I say they're talented in all three, which means their controversy is low. Their catalog is pretty even. Or wait, what? This is the wrong band. No, their catalog is not even. Catalog is like that. Mostly goated. And we can see their energy level is probably medium punk when you're looking at their top songs. Some of the songs, if you look at their whole catalog, is probably to bring the energy down because my top 10 tend to be higher energy, but they're about a 7 on average, if I'm rounding, in terms of energy. And then what did I say? They are about a 10 on average in terms of catchiness. So they are kind of punky, and then you bring it over. They're kind of a punk rock, indie/punk type of thing band. If you look at the Strokes, you look at the Arctic Monkeys, you look at Cage the Elephant, you look at most of those bands from that era, they tend to have the energy level of punk to indie, about a 7 to 4, and then they end up being the higher songs or the higher energy ones that people remember. So they go, oh, they're a rock band, right? And it tends to be where they are. So I would put Franz Ferdinand right over here, and then the lower energy songs are poppier. And you might say, well, it's rock, it's pop, it's whatever. Whenever you go this way across the slop line, you gain it. But once you go across the energy line, you also gain it. Like if they start out as an indie band, right? Well, as they go over and they get catchy, they become indie and pop. But as pop songs become high enough energy, they just get called rock. They also get called pop as well. If you think Beat It by Michael Jackson, that's a kind of lower energy rock song that's extremely catchy. So it's like right here. Beat It. Thriller might be right on the border here, but a lot of those songs from the 80s pop, pop with guitars, right, is a thing. But once it gets to a certain energy, it just is called pop and rock, but inherits everything as it goes along. The same way you inherit your father's last name, or your mother inherits your father's last name when they get married, even though she does not have the same blood. Woo! Anyways, got to flex. See you in the next video. Like if you like the video. Comment. Tell me what you think. Do you agree? Where do you place Franz Ferdinand on here? And if you disagree, tell me why with some words in your mouth hole. Anyways, next time, I'll see you. Bye!
Let me tell you something, you're